Joining me now, president of Project Veritas, investigative journalist James O'Keefe. James, good to see you.
Great to be with you, Liz.
All right, James, let's start this off from the media angle today. So first we had the producer saying that it was a bunch of BS. Then we had Van Jones saying it was a big nothing burger. Where's the mainstream media coverage of this? I haven't seen any.
Well, it's because we are an existential threat to the mainstream media. I mean, they can't. We've gone out of the boxing ring and punched places where we're exposed people we're not supposed to expose. I mean, I love how you focused on the Twitter trending number one. Pro-Trump group releases edited video. I mean, it's all propaganda. They're not acknowledging the substance of the video. And some of this stuff is truly remarkable. I posted something with the Washington Post, which said that the Washington Post has covered it, but they didn't cover the video. They said, I didn't report that the guy was from Atlanta. In fact, I did report the guy was from Atlanta. So they're just making stuff up. And I want to tell you I'm not exaggerating. I'm not embellishing. Tomorrow morning's video, I think, is going to change everything. It's inflammatory. It's awful what this producer says tomorrow morning, and it exposes the real soul of the group. So we're playing a game of chess. Bear with us as we draw them out and expose not just CNN, but CNN's reaction.
Right, and we saw some of CNN's reaction this morning when you tried to confront the CEO of CNN, Jeff Zucker. We have a short video of that I want to show our viewers, so take a look.
It's Mr. Zucker's residence on 3264th Street in New York City. Mr. James O'Keefe, how are you? Do you have a comment, sir, about the Russia story? Okay. That was pretty cowardly there, wasn't it? That was pretty cowardly. Take a look at that.
Listen, James, what do you make of this?
He ran away from me. We staked him out, and he leaves every morning at 7 a.m. and we knew that. And when they spotted me, they had a bunch of guys come up to me right before he came out. He ran away from the truth. And I'm telling you something, it's really, we're at a moment in our country's history when the whole thing is being exposed, and we got to keep putting pressure on them. Listen, these stories have been unbelievably big, and I think the American people are probably becoming more powerful as a collective body than the mainstream media. I do believe, however, the mainstream media still has a small amount of power, specifically when it comes to shaming Republican politicians. I don't think they have any power over the American people. I just think that the mainstream media has a limited power, and all I can say is that we view it as badges of honor when they characterize me and when they attack my work.
Right, and I want to get to that in a second because it seems like they're not focusing on the content of the videos. They're focusing on smearing your reputation personally. Yeah. But I want to ask you first, what is your goal here? I mean, you talk about the corruption of the mainstream media. That's something we cover on this show almost on a daily basis because the bias, especially in the last year and a half, has been so blatant. What is your goal here? I mean, when you see these videos at CNN, do you want Jeff Zucker to resign? Do you want people to know the truth? What's the ultimate goal?
That's a great question. Ultimately, our goal is we want the media to trust the American people with information. I know that's very abstract, but we believe the media, as evidenced by the reporting on this story, doesn't want people to see the information. They just want to smear and obfuscate and characterize truth. This is a battle to allow the American people to see and hear the truth. They currently can't do that, and I don't have a problem with anonymous sources, which is what the media is always using, as long as they're used to a limited degree. People need to be able to hear and see for themselves what is actually going on when it comes to all matters. But we don't hear and see anything. We just hear the media relaying to us what they think is happening by virtue of their characterizations, their obfuscation, and their description of reality. I want the media to show people the reality. And Liz, we're showing the reality inside the mainstream media, okay? And Andrew Breitbart taught me the media is everything in this country. The media is the #1 most powerful weapon and the most powerful tool for or against truth. That everything derives from that. So my goal is to inform the American people so they can make decisions. Jeff Zucker should lose his job. I'm not going to say I'm not going to ask for it, but he's the villain if there ever was one, because he is the person who controls the culture of the organization.
Right, and I mean, we've always heard that politics is downstream of culture, but the culture is somewhat dictated, it's formed and it's crafted in part by the narratives in the mainstream media, so you're absolutely right here. James, let me ask you, Van Jones finally responded to this video himself. He wrote an op-ed on CNN.com this morning. These are some of the things that he called you. I'm sure you've read this, but for our viewers' edification here, Van Jones called you, James O'Keefe, he called you notorious. He called you a con artist. He called you crazy. He said James O'Keefe and his band of crazy. So he also insulted your staff. And he called you a hoaxer. How do you respond to that?
They're just words. They're just words. They're just descriptions. They're just, I mean, you can call me Captain Kangaroo. You can call me a, kickboxer. You can call me ugly. I don't know what these words mean. I don't use words. I don't deal in characterizations. These journalists don't leave their desks. They don't have any moral courage. They don't show the American people any information. They just sit there and preen and talk and describe. What we do at Veritas, Liz, is very clear. We show the people them in their own words. We don't tell them what to believe. In fact, I try very hard not to even describe. I have to present the material in a fair fashion. That's my responsibility. But I don't tell people how to interpret the information. You have nothing but words. Rolling Stone magazine, I think, had the best line. They said, James O'Keefe makes Andrew Breitbart look like Edward R. Murrow. In other words, I'm awful. I'm the worst human being. And then in the next sentence of the Rolling Stone article, the reporter wrote, CNN verified the authenticity of the tape. well, if CNN verified the authenticity of what the guy said, what does it matter who I am, what I am, and anything about me? The only thing that matters is what John Bonifield said, what Van Jones said, and what the guy tomorrow morning from CNN New York says, which is absolutely devastating.
Right, you can't have it both ways, and that's the thing that I noticed from Van Jones's article, that he sort of was the classic representation of someone being defensive, someone who was caught in a lie here. But he called you crazy, he called you non-credible, but he didn't provide any evidence to that. So essentially, it's just name calling, which should be below us in the media.
It's name calling, and we shouldn't resort to that. We should not resort to ad hominems. I think that there's the temptation. This guy at the Washington Post, Paul Farhi, I mean, this is unbelievable. I don't know if you can get this on your program, but this guy actually said he said in his article that I did not say the guy was from Atlanta.
Right.
The quote from the video is, "I'd like to introduce you this guy from Atlanta." He literally, it was the clearest form of an error you will ever see. And he emailed me, and it's all over it's on Jim Hoft's website. He emailed me and said, we're not going to correct this error.
Right, and you can find that on James O'Keefe's Twitter account, by the way, if you want to see the email for yourself, because the guy emailed back and said he's not going to issue any correction. So he's aware of his mistake. He just refuses to do it.
He's aware of his mistake.
Right, yes. which is a demonstration. Again, it's illustrative of the fact that the mainstream media publishes fake news for their own agenda, and they don't care about it. James, we're looking forward to seeing your next video tomorrow. You said this is one of the biggest bombshells yet. Hopefully we'll talk to you then, but good luck.
Thank you, Liz.
All right.